Hey, happy Tuesday, family. I am excited to be back with you live on a Tuesday. Thank you to whoever. Oh, girl, get up is Misha. Thanks for hopping on YouTube. Listen, I almost didn't make it the full month that we were supposed to take the break. Actually, if you follow me, you know I didn't make it the full month that I was supposed to take a break. I honestly missed being on here live with you all every Tuesday. I have some pretty exciting stuff that I want to share with you, a great content lineup. But before I get into all that, just in case you are new to me and my channel, my name is Timalyn Bowens and I am America's favorite EA. As an enrolled agent, I'm licensed through the Internal Revenue Service to represent taxpayers in all 50 states. As a matter of fact, clients all across the world if they have a U.S. tax problem. All right, let me see. And, you know, when I launched the America's Favorite EA platform and my mentorship program to help other EAs, I started getting questions that I hadn't even thought about or considered. So, one of the questions that I keep seeing repetitively is, what are my options after I become an EA as far as if I want to get a job and work somewhere, or if I want to start my business? Like, how do I go about doing that? So in today's video, that's exactly what we're going to cover. I'm going to talk about enrolled agent career opportunities in 2024. Now, as you're hopping on, please say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And when I say where you're tuning in from, let me know where you're at in the country or in the world, right? Let me say hello to some of my people that are on now. So it looks like I got 4 people on YouTube. Facebook has a little lag. Let me go ahead and pull up LinkedIn really quick, just because sometimes when I'm on LinkedIn, all of my comments don't come across. So people on LinkedIn, I am not ignoring you. I just can't see it yet. All right. And of course, I have just as many people on LinkedIn as I do on YouTube right now. Oh, nope. LinkedIn actually just passed you all. So if you are on LinkedIn right now and you would like to comment, make sure that you give StreamYard the permission to access your name and profile so that I'll see your comment here, because once I get going, I may forget to look down at the phone and see what your comments are. But folks on LinkedIn, as you're hopping in, make sure you say hello. If it's a little bit glitchy today, feel free to hop on over to YouTube, all right? So let's see. I already said hello back to Misha. She said, good morning, Timalyn. Good morning to you in Arizona. Thanks for making the sacrifice and waking up early to join me. Miss Dorothy says, good morning. Glad you're back. Look, I'm excited and happy to be back as well. Thank you. Thank you. Dennis says, hello, new on your platform. I'm a brand new EA. Dennis, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and congratulations on passing all 3 parts of the EA exam and becoming a new EA. Yes, Misha's hailing from Phoenix, Arizona. Super early there right now. Dennis is tuning in from New York. All right, so I got about 10 people on LinkedIn and nobody's saying hello. But it's all right. I'm going to get going because I want to respect your time, and I know it's busy season. A lot of you may also be doing taxes. So let's get right to this. Just in case you're not familiar with my story, I am going to share my story first, just so you know it's not your typical EA story. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I don't know any 2 EAs who have an identical story. They may be similar, but they're not identical. And the reason I want to highlight this is because your experiences, they contribute to your perspective, which makes you a better EA because you're going to see things in a different way than I do, right? So let's go back. My EA journey started before I even knew what an EA was, right? So I had experience with an accounting ledger, etc., from the time I was around 6 years old. There was a deacon at our church, took me under his wing and helped me learn how to track money and do things. So from a very early age, I knew that I wanted to do something in accounting, right? Didn't even have any interest in doing my own tax return. Well, fast forward, I get to college and I went to an amazing college who provides students with great internship opportunities. And I just realized you all aren't talking back to me, so I can take that out. Through that experience, I was able to work 3 busy seasons with a CPA firm. So public accounting is completely different from when you're working with one company, right? So this company that I worked with, or the CPA firm that I was working with, this year they had just gone international. So they had a really big reach. It wasn't a big four firm, but they were still top 10 in the world as far as size is concerned. The reason I bring that up is because when you have that much reach, that big of a client base and everything, I had the opportunity to be guided by some of the most insightful tax professionals that have done the thing, right? But in addition to that, I also had access to different resources and trainings and hands on experience, which I highly recommend everybody get before they just take the leap to jump out on their own. So I got to work on things such as FI, which is financial institutions, publicly traded companies, big partnerships. I did not truly know how to do a W 2 return when I left there because that's not what I did. All right. So, and I'm sorry if you heard the story before. I got some new people here that haven't heard it because right now I got 15 people on LinkedIn and I got one that just said hello, and we're going to give him a shout out because out of 15, only one said hey. So, hi, Jeremy. Thank you for joining. He's tuning in from South Carolina today. When I had the opportunity to be with that firm and get all of that hands on experience, and not having done a W 2 return, when I decided to step out on my own, I did not realize that working at that CPA firm was a privilege. It put me ahead of my peers as far as knowledge and experience because I got to do so much more, right? So for you right now, and we don't have to talk about representation or anything, just let me know in the comments how many years of tax experience do you have? And while you all are doing that, let's talk about the career opportunities because with the EA credential, it differentiates us from other tax professionals because it gives us the opportunity to have unlimited representation rights. And although we repeat that and we say it to our clients and we say it to our peers, I think that we fail to realize what that actually means and the authority that we hold as an enrolled agent with unlimited representation rights. Okay. So if you're somebody that has done, what is it, the annual filing season program, AFSP, you have limited representation rights, or if you've prepared the return, right? Because with that, you can talk to the IRS about that return that you prepared. However, you cannot fully step into the taxpayer's shoes and negotiate on their behalf. That's the difference. For people that do resolution work, and I'm differentiating between resolution and representation, if they're doing resolution work, but they're not credentialed, which means they're not a tax attorney, they're not a CPA, they're not an enrolled agent, they're yet limited. They can do the paperwork, but they can't speak to the IRS without the client. If you're on here and you're an enrolled agent, you have that full authority. You have the exact same authority as a tax attorney before the IRS. Now, of course, there's paperwork that needs to be done. The 2848 needs to be filled out to show that you are that power of attorney. But you can call the IRS whenever you want about that taxpayer situation just like they could. The only one up you have on them, of course, is that you can call the tax practitioner line, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will allow you to get in there faster, right? You have the same access to their transcripts and their records and to see if they have any credits pending as far as like refunds that haven't been refunded yet. You can do all of that. Somebody that's AFSP or, you know, just has a P10, they can't do that. So when we think about what you can do as an enrolled agent, I don't want you to just put yourself inside of this little box, right? That says I can only do tax preparation. Because yes, you can do tax preparation, but don't limit yourself to that because you took the special enrollment exam. So you could do so much more than just prepare taxes. So yes, we have the tax preparation. You're also authorized to do tax planning. So I like to call that preventative care. So you're able to look at what the taxpayer has going on and make projections going forward into the next year and look at different possibilities of what are some things that they could invest in that would be a deduction? What are some things they could invest in that would be a credit, right? So with the Inflation Reduction Act, an enrolled agent is licensed through the IRS to be able to do tax representation planning and preparation. You can take your knowledge base to research things such as the Inflation Reduction Act and see, okay, are these energy credits going to be something that is going to benefit my client and help reduce their tax liability or help them to actually get a refund this year? You have that authority. But again, tax preparation, tax planning, almost anybody who can self-study, self-learn can do those things. The representation piece is what is absolutely different. Let me catch up with some of my comments. So Jeremy said, good morning. Thank you, sir. Good morning to you. Notary World says, I'm interested in becoming an enrolled agent. I live in Cali. Well, look, Notary World, I know that's probably not your real name, but that's what I'm going to call you now. Thanks for joining and thanks for getting up early to be on here with me because I believe it's only like 8:17 there. So Miss Dorothy said she has been in the tax game for 18 years. That's awesome. Girl Get Up says 15 years. And Dennis has beat us all. With 20 years with IRS corporate tax audit, interested in starting my own practice. Awesome. And Dennis, with you starting your own practice, because you have so many years of experience working with the IRS, are you looking to start your own practice to do audit representation? Or are you looking to do things such as tax prep, tax planning, and the representation as well? That's really cool. Nikima says, good morning. Good morning to you, ma'am. I got it. Notary World says, yep, out walking and listening. Look, now you're going to make me feel bad because I need to exercise, but I'm not. But let's be honest about this. Everybody is not cut out to be self-employed. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter because you'll get on here and they'll tell you everybody should start their own business and you hire other people and yada, yada, yada. Well, if everybody should be self-employed, who are you going to hire to work in your business? Right? But on the flip side of that, everybody's not built to be an employee. But with the enrolled agent license, you have the option to go either way. Now, what I do recommend, even if you were going to go out on your own, is that you do work under the umbrella or covering of somebody else before you just jump out there, right? So for example, like I said with me, through college, I was able to make connections, amazing networking, and I was able to do an internship where I got all this hands-on experience, which by the way, don't be discouraged because the majority of internships that are within the tax realm and world, they are paid. So the first year I worked with them, I was 21 and I got paid roughly the same amount of my age an hour. All right. So not only was it a good experience, back then, that amount of money was good money too. Not saying it's bad now, but don't think that, oh my goodness, if I go intern, like I'm not going to be able to survive because I'm not going to get paid. That is not true at all. Now, if you're past the what you say intern phase of your life, that's still fine. It really depends on what area that you want to work in as an enrolled agent. So right now, if we're looking at who is hiring enrolled agents, it's not going to look like as many jobs are as available as there would be for a CPA or accountant. Here's why. If we look at the enrolled designation, there's not as much information out there about it because, simply put, lobbying dollars. The Certified Public Accountant designation, CPA designation, they spend a lot more money lobbying, getting their name out there, getting laws about who can be called an accountant, etc., in their different states. The EA credential just doesn't have as much backing. However, what it does allow you to do, because a lot of people don't know about it, is to educate your way into the job. But don't let me get too excited. Let me go back. This is why I have to have notes because I get I get too into it, right? So if you're just starting out and you want experience and maybe you do want to do representation, you don't necessarily have to do the prep work. However, it is good to understand how tax preparation works, right? Because how can I represent somebody who's in trouble right now for an accuracy related penalty, which that penalty means that they either took a deduction or credit that the IRS has disallowed, or they omitted income that a third party source has told the IRS that they actually made. And the IRS has come back and they say, okay, 20% of the tax that would have been if you had reported this income or hadn't claimed this erroneous deduction or credit, that's the penalty we're going to hit you with. Okay. If I'm doing representation work and I'm comparing what the IRS has with what my client has turned in and what my client has, I can't represent them to the best of my ability if I don't know how the tax return works and how it should have actually been prepared, right? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Like, you can't supervise somebody doing something at a job if you don't know how to do what they're doing. So I think tax preparation is still a good place to start. People have asked me, like, do I need to go back and get an accounting degree? Do I need to go back and get like a tax degree? You do not have to go back to get an accounting degree or a tax degree. Now, would it hurt you? It wouldn't hurt because you would have a better knowledge base and understanding of how the things work. But at the cost of college right now, what that would be, would it make the most sense? Not necessarily. So what I would recommend is finding somewhere where you could work at entry level to gain a better understanding of basic tax preparation. So if we look online, we see that a lot of the franchises are hiring at entry level. Now, do I think you should stay there forever? No. Maybe a season. Maybe you take the H&R Block individual tax class. Surgeon tax has a class. And these I'm all neutral on, right? I'm not getting any type of affiliate link. But these places will take you through thoroughly the basics of tax preparation, and then getting that hands-on experience, you'll be able to walk away. And when you see different things within representation, it will click better and make sense, right? Because if any of you all have attended college, you know that seeing something in the textbook is completely different than you actually encountering it in the classroom, right? Now, there are some companies, for example, Intuit, and I will tell you right now, I'm not an Intuit fan because I don't believe in monopolies and they're like taking over. However, Intuit has been a good opportunity for a lot of my colleagues to get that hands-on practice, right? That hands-on experience. In addition to that, if you're not an enrolled agent yet, they also have a program where they will pay for your study guide and pay for you to take the exams to become an enrolled agent. To me, that's a win-win if I can get the hands-on experience and training of the basic tax preparation, which is going to help my understanding to do representation work, and also get it paid for by somebody else. Make sense? Let me see. Let me catch up on LinkedIn because all of this is not coming in. So Ismail says, good morning. Great to hear from you. Always from Iowa with love. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Notary World, how long did it take you to get your EA license? So I took my first exam in a November, and then I took the last one on September 1st. So a little under a year. I had plans to knock it out before that, but of course, life happens. I was very close with my grandmother, and I took my first exam in November, passed it. She passed away in December, so that kind of put a little bump in my road. And then I think I took the next one. I have them over here somewhere. But I took the next one, I think that February before the window closes. And then, from from March 1st until April 31st, the window for testing is closed. And then September, it was right before how young was I then? It was right before my birthday. So I wanted to get it knocked out, and I took it. So a little under a year. If you haven't already, there's a video on here with Brian Hawk from Hawk International, and we talk about their review course. Now, I'm a little partial to them because I did use Passkey to study for the exams. I passed all of them on the first try, and they are now working with Christy. Passkey and Hawk International are combined. So I would highly, highly recommend them because it's subscription format. You can look at it online. If you need the book, you can look at the book, but you only pay for it as long as you need. That was a good question. All right. Let me get back here. Girl Get Up says, yep, I'm out walking too. Cool beans. You guys are making me feel bad. I'm going to have to go walk tomorrow. But let me make sure I don't have any other questions. Maybe though, and I'm going back because I just mentioned working at a franchise like an H&R Block. If you worked at an Intuit, something like that, right now it's really good to find, or it's really hard to find good help within the tax industry. With that being said, there are always people looking to hire. And at this point now, the EA designation doesn't have as much lobbying and backing to get us as known as the CPA designation. However, there are organizations such as NAEA, which is the National Association of Accountants, that are working with public accounting firms. So they are now hiring EAs. If you have that opportunity to make that connection, I would most definitely say to take it because that's one of the best things I ever could have done is to work within a public accounting firm and to get so much different experience because it helped me to understand what I wanted to do before I had to actually jump out on my own and spend money figuring it out. Now, don't get me wrong. I still had to spend money, make mistakes doing different things, and figure out what I didn't want to do. But I did kind of have a head start with that because of the time that I had been at Crow. Sorry about that. So another place to look, of course, is on LinkedIn if you're on Indeed, something like that. But if you reach out to other EAs to see, ask like, hey, I'm a new EA. I'm looking for experience. Are you hiring anybody at entry level? Because I'm telling you, it is super hard to find somebody that is really able and willing to work. Now, the second part of that, I would go ahead and differentiate yourself. What do I mean? So if all of these people are coming into the workforce now, tax professionals, they're tired of just doing tax preparation, they want to do something else, what's going to make you stand out above what they do? One, my fingers cut off, you can niche down. Two, add something to it. One of the things I really enjoy doing is writing and teaching. And I love tax law. So, what I set out to do, and if you're new here, you haven't heard it yet, but I'm on a mission to fill the tax literacy gap one taxpayer at a time. That includes you all as professionals because you are taxpayers. I like to take tax law and break it down to the point where I can have a discussion about it with my 10-year-old, right? So because I'm an enrolled agent and I also enjoy writing, that has provided me with opportunities, paid opportunities to actually write and to teach different aspects of tax law. Now, that's not going to be something that you get to overnight, but as you are learning, the best way to figure out if you've actually learned something is to see if you can teach it to somebody else, right? And that's why I encourage people to do in my mentorship group. As you were learning about the different ways that you can represent taxpayers, you need to create content about it and make sure that you can actually convey what you can do. Now, because you have the right to do tax representation, you can speak with the IRS. I have also seen some of my colleagues that will work at law firms. Why? Because if you have an attorney, I've already told you they have that authorization to represent taxpayers. However, I told you be well rounded, right? You need to learn what tax preparation is and the basics so things click for you and it makes sense. When we're looking at this, a lot of attorneys, even though they may be tax attorneys and they may do tax representation, they may work in tax court, they've never done a tax return, so they don't understand how the tax return works. So you come in with the ability to speak before the IRS. Now you can't talk in tax court unless that's a different video. But anyway, you can work with the tax attorneys to help make everything click, right? And the reason that you would do this again is because you're going to go and make sure that you actually understand how the tax return works. The tax attorney that has gone through law school and they do what they do good, there are going to be some that want to know how the tax return works, but not all of them are. That's going to be where you're able to step in and as the expert in that area and team up with them to give your clients the best experience because you both understand how their whole case works. All right. So, and that's another thing. Not all CPAs, but some CPAs know what our credential is, and some attorneys also understand what our credential is. Now, there is most definitely the whole competition, which designation is better, which is blah, blah, blah. We're all different. We all overlap CPAs, EAs, and tax attorneys with doing tax representation, but you don't want me to represent you in tax court, right? You need a tax attorney for that. That's the specialization that they do that I can't do. With a CPA, they typically are going to know more accounting stuff than an EA does. Now, maybe not me, because like I said, I went to an amazing college, the best accounting program in the area. However, a lot of EAs don't have accounting background because an accounting degree is not required to be an EA. So the CPA is going to understand more about the cash flow of business. They're going to understand more about state and local taxes because their designation is a state designation. It's not a federal license like the EA one, right? So I don't want to talk about which one is better because we're all different. We have different areas of expertise. We just all overlap in the representation part, right? So even again, with that being said, there are law firms that you could partner with for career opportunities. Maybe as contract, maybe that's as an employee. You could work at a CPA firm whether it's a big one like I worked at, or if it's a local CPA firm. Because even if you're working with a CPA that does specialize in taxes and that's what they focus on, a lot of CPAs do not want to get on the phone with the IRS and they don't want to study about how to do representation work. Honest to goodness, about 1/3 of my representation book of business right now is from CPAs because they referred to me. Now, I don't work for them, but if you were starting out, again, that may be an opportunity for you to work with them as a W-2 employee and work under that umbrella and be able to have access to their different resources and training so that you can have a better foundation before you jump out there on your own. If that's something you even desire to do, right? Because not everybody wants to jump out and be their own boss. It's not for everybody. Let me see. So I have 12 people on LinkedIn right now, 10 people on YouTube. Folks on LinkedIn, you are being super quiet, but I appreciate Nakima, Jeremy for saying hello. If you guys have any questions right now, go ahead and drop them in the comments. So, Girl Get Up says, does Intuit make you sign a nomination compete? And if so, what's the time constraints? I honestly am not sure if they do or not. So there are different levels that you can work at with Intuit. And if anybody else has experience, please let me know. However, the people that I know that have done it, they will be on like a helpline where they help answer questions about the tax return. Then I know some people that have worked with Intuit where they get clients through Intuit. I would assume that the people that are getting clients through Intuit probably have to sign a non-compete, but I'm not positive or sure of that. I would have to ask somebody else. Also said, great information. Thank you. Tekla's mom says, brilliant. Appreciate you. Notary World says, I currently work as a seasonal remote tax expert for an accounting firm. I see all the opportunities in this field. Yeah, and like I said, as an enrolled agent, sometimes we box ourselves into like, oh, I can only do tax preparation, but that's not so. Again, I would recommend that you do get that experience in tax preparation so that you understand how the tax form works. But what really is going to separate you from other tax professionals is your ability to do representation work. Right now, if you were to launch out on your own, think about it. If you know this, you may not know it. Back in November, the IRS sent millions of CP 504s. The CP 504 is the intent to levy. With that, how many people do you think were panicked because they didn't want the IRS to clear out their bank account? Right? So what that did was give enrolled agents the perfect opportunity to say, hey, I'm an enrolled agent. I'm licensed through the Internal Revenue Service. And that license gives me the ability to talk to the IRS on your behalf so you don't have to handle this tax situation on your own. I step in your shoes and I handle it for you. Think about all of the offer and compromise meals that guarantee people an offer and compromise even when they don't actually qualify for it. If you come out with content to share, hey, I don't put everybody through an offer and compromise, that process, because not everybody qualifies. Let me sit down with you and take you through my process to see what you actually qualify for that is going to satisfy the IRS and not bankrupt you. Because I'm an expert licensed through the Internal Revenue Service. So we can go on the back of what the IRS is doing, pushing people to take care of their problem, and then off of the bad advertising of everybody on the radio, I don't know if they're in the newspaper, but online talking about helping people save and pay only pennies on the dollar. Like, okay, that's only a soundbite. Let me walk you through the real process and what that looks like and see how I can help you, right? So, Tekla's mom said, I do have a question how to become an EA. So, Tekla's mom, I hope that you right now are subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'm going to answer this in a quick-ish way, but there is actually a video right here on this channel that walks you through how to become an EA. Like I mentioned before, I have a video that I did with Hawk International to talk about their review course, and I actually have a series coming up on my blog about different study material and everything. It's set to come out next month though, right before the testing window. But let me get your question really quick. So to become an EA, you have to sit for and pass a 3-part test that we call the special enrollment exam. You'll hear EA exam used interchangeably, but the first exam is going to cover individual taxation and then trust and estates. The second part of the exam is going to cover businesses. So it's going to cover your partnerships, corporations, shoot, I just had a brain fart, but it's going to cover business taxation. And then the third part is going to talk more about tax law and representation. All right, so once you pass those, you do have to fill out an application, which is Form 23. And with that application, once it is approved, and you send in, what do you call it? I'll say receipts right now, but showing that you passed all 3 parts of the exam, then they will send you your license back. Now, prior to that, you do have to have a P10. I can't remember where in the process you send your fingerprints. That may not be until you get your EFIN. But like I said, I do have a video about that right here on this channel. And if you're brand spanking new to me, I would highly recommend that you go over to americasfavoriteea.com. And over there, I do have a free blog and then I have a paid one too. So there's an article that will walk you right through the process as well. All right, it looks like I'm frozen on LinkedIn. I hope that I am not, but I don't want to go too far into how to jumpstart your own enrolled agent business just because, like I said, I'm about 38 minutes into the hour right now, and I could talk about that forever because that's what I talk about the majority of the time. If you all have any questions at all about being an enrolled agent, please feel free to reach out. Let me know in the comments. In addition to that, though, if you're like, hey, I want to become an enrolled agent, I want to start building my own practice. Like I mentioned, I do have the free blog over at americasfavoriteea.com, which I'm going to keep throwing in hints, but you all go over there and subscribe. But in addition to that, there is the Enrolled Agent Mentorship Program where each week I drop a private podcast just for the members of that community, in addition to an article. And if you've ever read one of my articles before, I like to go take a deeper dive so that it's more like a checklist of what you should do to reach whatever I'm talking about. So for example, there's an article in there, how to get your first client, how to get tax representation clients, even if you don't have a big social media following, right? Because right now everybody's like, oh, post this, and that. And it's like, that social media is not everybody's thing, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't get clients. And in it, I share 5 different ways with how you can get clients without using the lean list and blowing anybody up there, without sending any sleazy DMs on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, because tax representation clients are different, right? If you work with insurance agents, that's pretty easy. You can look up who's an insurance agent, reach out to them. There's no sign that people wear on their foreheads to say, I owe the IRS. However, there are ways to still draw them out so they come to you. Think about it. How did you find me? Right? If you're on YouTube, I didn't come find you. If you're on LinkedIn, a lot of you, all 18 of you, you guys found me. So I teach people how to do that exact same thing. So there are articles on how to do that. And at the end of each article, there's a now it's your turn section where you can actually get feedback from me in the comments, as well as with the podcast and the community. If you're interested in joining that, you can still go to americasfavoriteea.com, and it is called the Tax Rep Journey. And Misha, I knew what you meant. You meant non-compete, but I picked up on it. Tekla's mom says thank you. Akima says you're fine here. Awesome, thank you. And Akima, if I am not saying your name right, let me know in the comments. As you can imagine, my name is Timalyn. Being born at the end of the 80s, we had Timberland, the producer. We had Timbaland, the producer. We had Timberland, the boot. So I'm a little sensitive to saying other people's names incorrectly, and I don't want to do that to you. But yes, I don't think I have any other questions. Make sure that if you were on LinkedIn that you were following me, because next either Sunday or Monday, I'll post up an event to make sure that you know that I'll be live on Tuesday and you'll see what the topic is. If you were on YouTube, I'll be back. So make sure that you subscribe and share the channel. And like I said, I have content planned and coming up, but just like I do within my community, it is catered towards their desires. And like I said, this is a question that I kept getting, so that's why I covered it. If there's anything that you all would like me to cover and it's something that I keep on getting, just let me know and I'd be more than happy to cover it on here for you or in my blog. Yes, I said it right. Thank you. And thank you. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to hop off. You guys have a fantabulous Tuesday. Don't forget to go subscribe at americasfavoriteea.com. If you're on LinkedIn, make sure that you follow me so you can still see the articles and the next time that I go live. Bye.